Hi there, my name's Cassie and welcome to Worshipful Reading. This is my first video on BookTube, so I'm very excited. This is more for me than for anyone else, but I hope that you enjoyed as well. I discovered BookTube, maybe a year or two ago. Literally when I Googled Christian fiction that isn't terrible. I was just trying to find some quality books that were not, super scandalous and sketchy, but also not cheesy. And that Google search took me right to Chantel Reads All Day, her YouTube and her list of Christian fiction recommendations, and I've gotten some great recommendations from her, and that took me to book lover Amanda's channel. I love her channel. I'm not even a huge rom-com or romance reader, but her videos bring me so much joy. I love her authenticity and how she brings faith into all of her videos and her content. But I never thought that I would be the one to start a BookTube channel. But I kind of came to a place where feeling super kind of burned out and discouraged by what I'm reading. And I was very convicted by this book that I'm reading right now called Liturgy of the Ordinary by Tish Harrison Warren. And it was talking about not being alternative consumers, but being worshipers. So that really got me thinking, even if I'm attempting to read, clean books or Christian books, that doesn't necessarily, and I'll say maybe that in air quotes, like cleaner Christian books. Because we all know that there's books labeled Christian that, are really honoring to the Lord. And that's kind of what I was getting at is, even if I am being an alternative consumer, are the books that I am reading actually leading me to worship God? And that's kind of what the point of this channel is, this kind of journey that I'm on. I'm an English teacher, so reading is part of my job, and I challenge my students all the time. How do the stories that we read, how do they help us to see, creation, fall, redemption, and restoration? How do they teach us more about God and more about ourselves? And I feel like I'm at a place where it's like, I'm not finding that in books for myself beyond the obvious. So at the end, I'm going to ask you for some recommendations. But that's kind of my goal in this channel is I'm already, at least I try to be pretty discerning in what I read. I'm a pretty sensitive reader. I'm a pretty picky reader. I have certain daytime books and nighttime books and audiobooks, and I'm a mood reader and a seasonal reader. But really want to kind of take it a step further and not just researching for clean books, which is hard enough in and of itself. And like I said, I'm not even necessarily looking for clean romance, just clean in general. Is that too much to ask? But really looking for books that cause me to worship. And I know sometimes that might even mean getting into books that are sometimes maybe a little muddy and murky. And so that's really what I'm trying to flesh out in this channel. What does it look like to honor the Lord through the things that we read? So with that in mind, today I thought I'd give a little taste of some books that I'm reading, really devotionally what I'm reading, books I'm kind of, being forced to read by others. And then I wish I could say books for fun, but I'm at a lack of those right now. So hopefully I can get some great recommendations from you. But without further ado, let's talk about the book I told you that's challenging me right now, and that's Liturgy of the Ordinary by Tish Harrison Warren. And she walks through kind of our everyday rituals and practices. She has chapters that are called, making the bed or brushing your teeth or losing your keys. And she connects them back to kind of spiritual and liturgical practices and makes you kind of think about the everyday ordinary Christian life and what that looks like. There was a line she said in a chapter I just read that said, everybody wants, and she was quoting someone else, but everybody wants a revolution, but no one wants to do the dishes. So that idea of what does faithfulness look like in the everyday. So really enjoying this. Also kind of in a devotional sense, I don't have a physical copy of it, but I'm reading That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs. My first time reading anything by Annie F. Downs. It sounds like it would be a very superficial book. It's all about kind of rediscovering the joy of fun. It's kind of how it, from a biblical perspective, it's kind of how it's marketed. But wow, it's actually very deep and very thought-provoking of what it looks like to, have fun and joy in the midst of grief and pain and struggle, and what it looks like to recapture Eden. So That Sounds Fun by Annie F. Downs. She also has a podcast of the same name. I haven't really listened to that, but I'm listening to the audiobook of That Sounds Fun, and I am loving it. So books now I'm kind of being forced to read. I say that lightly, but The Fellowship of the Ring. One of my colleagues has been trying to get me to read this for a very long time. So finally I was like, okay, yes, I am an English teacher and a Christian. I feel like I should read this. It's been good. I have been enjoying it. Fantasy is not really my go-to. I haven't read the Chronicles of Narnia. That's not really even on my list, so please don't recommend that to me right now. This is about all the fantasy I can take currently. I've been enjoying it, seeing a lot of beautiful kind of parallels, definitely making me think, just loving the story and surprised by the humor in it. It's just slow. I am more of a saver than like a binger when it comes to reading, but I am enjoying it. I've been listening to the audio as well, which has been helpful, but I think it was like a 24-hour audio book. So it's taking me some time, but I am enjoying it. Gotta love the local library. Most of the books you will see I have are from the library, or I also have a Kobo and I get things from Libby. So that's kind of normally how I read a lot of my books. But there's this. And then I just finished this, Vampires of El Norte. I have some friends and I who we kind of do these local book competitions. They put out a list of books that you read. Normally I only end up reading one or two of the books because of the content in them. I had researched this one beforehand and I was like, okay, this seems pretty clean, like I'll give it a go. The premise is pretty interesting if you're not familiar with it. It takes place during the Mexican-American War, which I knew nothing about. I feel like I know a little bit about it now. I love books where I learn about different, time periods or learn something new, even if it's nonfiction. This is fiction. But I feel like I learned some, but not as much as I would have liked. And it's kind of symbolic. There are these vampires also in it. Not like Twilight vampires, different, but vampires that kind of symbolize the Americans coming to take over, and also the patriarchy for one of our characters. So lots of symbolism. Love it. This book had so much potential to be this different, awesome, amazing thing. And a lot of ways it was. However, it was supposed to be kind of like clean, closed door. I guess it was technically closed door, but man, that door was cracked open and I did not like what I encountered. Definitely would say, even though if you research it, it says no spice, I would say that this is spice. And for that reason, I can't recommend it. I was like very convicted that I actually finished it. And this is kind of too what led me to this place of being a little burnt out with books. It's like books that I love parts of them. They have such great potential. And to me, the other parts of this book weren't as like strong or moving or life-giving that I could maybe overlook or skim that section. It was like half of the book. I feel like the door was kind of cracked. So can't recommend that, unfortunately, sadly, although it was a really cool premise. So it's kind of what I'm working on now. I would love your book recommendations, please. Like I said, I'm not like super into romance. I don't mind if romance is part of a book as long as it's, spice free, like not into that at all. Caveat though, like I will say, you know, if it is a book, like I will say, for instance, The Women by Kristen Hanna. That was totally outside of my comfort zone. I read that for a book competition too with my friends. There definitely was some spice in it. I kind of skipped over those pages. But man, I came away from that book like changed. It impacted me in such a deep way because of the way that, you know, trauma in the Vietnam War. I knew nothing about the Vietnam War. And so I didn't really feel like convicted in a sense in reading that book, because I felt like, wow, this moved me, this changed me, this was raw, and this was real life. I didn't feel that as much with this. This just seemed kind of like, you know, romanced for fun. But man, you know, trying to discern and figure it out as a Christian, it's tough. But I would love your recommendations. Like what fiction books or nonfiction like have led you to greater understanding of our God, our world, dare I say, have led you to worship. Those can be secular books, you know, Christian fiction. It could be memoirs. I would just ask, like, don't tell me the screw tape letters. Like, I already know that. I'm like looking to expand, right? I want to expand. I don't want like the cliche, you know, Christian-y books. Although I do say this is probably on that list and I am enjoying it. But yeah, like what books in your life have impacted your faith walk? Like fiction or maybe literary nonfiction specifically. That's kind of what this journey is about, and I would love to hear your recommendations. Thanks for joining me on this channel. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I'm excited to see. And oh, one last thought. Another kind of book that's in this book competition with my friends is God of the Woods, which is kind of trending everywhere right now. So if you've read that, I have kind of researched into content and asked one of my friends about it. So I'm going to give it a go. It might be a DNF, but if you have any thoughts on God of the Woods, let me know. Thanks, guys. Happy reading.